All right, so today we're going to show you how to set up your TIG welder so you can get ready to start welding. I'm going to demonstrate on our Dynasty 300. Your welders in your booth are very similar with a little bit of a difference between some of them, but we're going to go over all of that right now. First off, you got to make sure your machine is plugged in. Plug in into the wall. It is a twist and push, or if you need to unplug a welder, it's a twist and pull. The power switch is a paddle switch in the back corner. We turn it on. This welder, because it's a portable welder, has a gas cylinder hooked onto its rack. In our welding booths, we have a gas manifold system with valves in each booth. The valve on your left is pure argon for your TIG welder. The valve on your right is a mixed gas for your MIG welder. Make sure you turn on your gas before you start to weld. If you look at the top of the silver knob, one way says open, the other way says close. Go ahead and turn it counterclockwise to open it, or clockwise to close it. You want to adjust your regulator so that you have about 20 to 30 cubic feet per hour, or CFH. That's the black lines on the regulator. You'll notice that if your gas is not on, it'll look like the 4th of July. You shouldn't have any sparks while you're TIG welding. Make sure your gas is on. First up, after the machine turns on, the Dynasty is a AC-DC machine. We want to make sure that you're welding on DC current. The first button in our lineup is polarity. Make sure that the light for DC is on. You can cycle through to turn that on. The second button in our lineup is processed. We have the option of TIG high frequency, TIG lift arc, and stick. We want to make sure that we're on TIG lift arc. We are going to cycle through, hit the button until it lights up TIG lift arc. Our output is if we wanted to use a remote control or not. Our remote control is basically a foot pedal or a finger control. We'll wait to use that until you've got a little bit of TIG welding under your belt. So we'll just put that away. We want to cycle from remote standard, remote 2-tap hold to on. Your TIG torch is now electrically live. As soon as I touch it to the metal that's been grounded, the arc will initiate. We don't need to worry about the next buttons in the row. Pulsar, sequencer, and adjusting are things that we can learn as we get into TIG welding a little bit more. If by chance you hit another button and something else has happened, you need to get back to your main amperage. You can hit this button right here. It says main/peak, and it'll take you back to your amperage. This dial up here dials in your amperage. I think a good starting point for 1/8" material, which we'll be using in class, is 125 amps. Your TIG torch and your work clamp are connected to your welder via the front panel. Some machines will have a negative and a positive, while this machine has a picture of an electrode and a picture of a work clamp. Internally, it will automatically switch negative and positive depending on the process you're welding. But know that TIG welding is electrode negative, and if you have a negative and positive, that your electrode cable needs to be in the negative terminal. Your foot pedal is hooked up right here. That's what this symbol means, is remote. Right now, a remote would be something like 0 to full. Full could be whatever I set this to. Right now, it would be 125 amps. This machine will go up to 300 amps. So if I had the remote turned on, I would go 0 to 300. And then somewhere in between it would vary, kind of like the gas pedal on your car. To take off your foot pedal, spin it counterclockwise and pull it out. You'll notice that on this connector, there's a slot at the top. That slot needs to be on the top if you want to hook up a foot pedal. Slide in the connector, lines up with the pin, and then you will spin clockwise. If it's directly lined in, it will spin several times and eventually bottom out and tighten in. This number right now is your voltage. Because we have our output on, it's reading what's called open circuit voltage. That's how much power we have ready to get the welding started. As you're welding, the machine will try and stay at 125 amps, and your voltage will vary depending on how close or far away you are from the metal. Ideally, we want to be somewhere between 10 and 17 volts. As you start getting further away from the metal with your electrode, the voltage will start to climb higher and higher. A high voltage means that you have a long arc length, which means that your puddle and your weld may not turn out as desirable as you'd want. So keeping your voltage nice and low means that you actually have a nice tight arc to the puddle and things are going pretty well. Your partner in your booth could look at just your voltage and let you know how close you are or how far away you are by reading that number out. Ideally, if you can stay around 12 to 14, you know you're doing pretty consistent.